Welcome into another episode of the Laser Bros podcast. We're your hosts, Logan and Luke Lazarchik. Today, September 12th, Friday, 2025. We had week one NFL action last week. We had a Thursday night game last night between the Packers and the Commanders, and we will be looking ahead into week two. Luke, I know football's finally here, and, last weekend was super fun watching, 5-6 games at the same time.
No, it's back. It's back. And I'm happy. And now I don't have to be like, oh, it's back. It's back. Now it's back. It's all there. It's all very nice. Watching week one was very nice. I mean, our Chiefs lost, but, I kind of predicted that. So wasn't too shocked by that. But a lot of good games. It started off strong, and on the Sunday they kind of dipped. And then we may have had the Sunday night game was a classic. And then the Monday night game was a classic in its own right. It's kind of a big storyline.
It's kind of a mixed bag. Yeah. I thought week one, it's always week one games are always super weird. I feel like the last 2 years we now probably say that last year quarterback play was really, not up to par. This year, like you said, the games at the noon slate really started out well, but then they really slowed down. I think there was a point where there was touchdowns galore, and then for about 45-minute span, there was really nothing going on. Things are kind of stagnant. But yeah, I thought week one overall was a good week. Some teams I think there are some concerns with some teams, and there's, other teams that really outperform their, what they're expected of. But I do think we shouldn't overreact to week one. There's a lot of overreactions to be made after week one. I think you have to be careful of not, making, claims on teams just based off of 1 week.
I think it's tough because I think there are some things that you could see after week one. If you feel conviction about it, then you see it, you can stamp it down. But you can't do that with a lot of stuff. It has to be very mellowed out. You got to pick your poison, pick your lane, find what's right. But there's some things where you got to chill out a little. And I think that's what it's all about, finding the right balance. Obviously, try and predict it's near impossible, but you try.
Yeah. So as I stated, we are going to go over week one. We'll go over a handful of games, probably 3 to 4 games that we've selected to talk about. We will then talk about last night's Thursday night game between the Packers and the Commanders, and then we will wrap up with our week two picks. Before we start, just make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and follow us wherever you get podcasts. So let's start with the week one recap, and we're going to go all the way back to a week from today. Chargers, Chiefs in Brazil. There's a lot of expectation going to this game for both teams. Chiefs, you finally thought you were going to see, Rashee Rice is obviously not there, but you thought, okay, yeah, Marquise Brown, Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce's in better shape, upgrade offensive line. And 3 plays into the game, Xavier Worthy suffers a dislocated shoulder, friendly fire with Travis Kelce on a crossing route, in which Travis Kelce was trying to not set a screen, but a legal screen, but, get in the defender's way. Xavier Worthy would probably have room after the catch. They run into each other, and, that kind of set the tone for the whole night.
No, yeah, it started off bad, and even coming back a little bit, it never looked fully – it was just ugly. It was like any game last year for the Chiefs, but the Chiefs lost. So, it looked the exact same. But actually, the defense did not look nearly as good. That was honestly the bigger concern for me because you're out Worthy and Rice, but I'm envisioning – and Worthy, luckily, isn't that hurt, but he's probably missing this week.
Maybe he plays next
week. Yeah, maybe he's not going to play this week, but maybe he plays next week. We'll see what happens next week. But the thought is him and Rice are going to be back together week 7. And so that's kind of always on my mind, but just the defense, that was my real concern. Even the Chargers didn't run well. I know I like Herbert, and their weapons are kind of a nice blend, but they're not like the perfect weapons. But it just felt like Chiefs couldn't do anything. 3rd and 14, Chris Jones screws up the play. It was just it was not pretty, and there was a clear gap between the two teams. I feel like Friday night.
Yeah, for me, the defense was definitely a concern. It was it almost felt like the Super Bowl a little bit, except not as bad clearly, but the Chiefs kind of went all out to stop the run. And the Chargers basically said, okay. And the Chiefs are actually a very good run defense in general. They were one of the best rush defenses in the league last year. And they shut down Aaron Hampton, 15 carries, 48 yards, no touchdowns. But because of that, their secondary is really left on islands, and the Chargers receivers were open, like wide open voids, open gaps in the middle of the field. Quentin Johnson had 78 yards and 2 touchdowns on 5 catches. Keenan Allen had a touchdown. McConkey got his yards. I thought Justin Herbert played nearly a perfect game. And I know, circumstances for him, there's a lot of open receivers, but I do think he took advantage. And you kind of saw that was the first time, I think, for many people that Justin Herbert played a game from beginning to end where there weren't any like when he played the Bengals last year in that game, he was on fire the first half and then really hit a lull in the second half, and they still won the game. But this felt like the first time where he actually took over the game from start to finish.
No, yeah, if he stays consistent and he plays in the big moments, I mean, I think everyone kind of like he can play with any of them. He can be in that top tier of quarterbacks, but he has to prove it. But that's a great start to the season to – they didn't win where they're running the ball a lot last year, where they won some low-scoring games and he plays well, but they won and it was him. I mean, I honestly thinking about the receiver core more after that game. I kept man, it's perfect. I got Quentin Johnston, tall, athletic, not the best route runner or best hands, but
he's kind of a burner a little bit.
Yeah, you got Keenan Allen, old school route runner, and then you have Ladd McConkey, who's actually pretty fast. Pretty good route runner, pretty good hands and everything. He's a little short, but I mean, he's been a wide receiver 1 last year, and last year he had a near 200-yard playoff game. So it's a perfect trio of receivers. And even they lost Slater. I mean, we saw Joe Alt. He's probably still a top 5 left tackle. I mean, we each predicted Joe Alt Protector of the Year. We should have actually put money on that because that was great odds, and they're never going to put Protector of the Year back up. I'm gonna check that once. Finish my little thing, but I'd be shocked if they ever put that back up. But they got something brewing. They don't have the most defensive talent in the world, but they have enough, and they have good coaching. And this division, they can take it. They can take the division. It's really about just if Justin Herbert can play consistently throughout a game and in the big moments. If he does, they can play against anyone.
Yeah, for me, before the year, we kind of thought, and this still is a fair thought, but the AFC West was the best division in football. You can still have that opinion, and like I said, I don't want to overreact.
NFC North was probably ahead of it.
Yeah. But definitely top 2 division, I think. In terms of competitiveness. The Broncos did not look as good. I know it's 1 week, but Bo Nix struggled. The Raiders, they were obviously not. They're not viewed as this, I think a playoff contender or anything. They could, make a push for playoffs, but I wasn't overly impressed with them. And then Chiefs, like you said, there's a lot of issues with the Chiefs offensively, defensively. The Chargers could steal this division. And, a lot of people, including myself, once Rashawn Slater went down, that was a huge red flag for me. And I actually bumped the Chargers down in my preseason division predictions because of that injury. But Joe Alt stepped right in. And if he's playing like that, I think the Chargers upgrade their running game with Amari Hampton, Najee Harris, who was a non-factor. But those 2 running backs are clearly upgrades over the running backs that they had last year at their disposal. You upgrade the pass catching options. I think the Omarion Hampton and Najee Harris. I think that combination is.
I would take J.K. Dobbins over Harris. I get Hampton, but
okay, but Gus. No, I'm saying Dobbins and Harris or Dobbins and Edwards over. I think they clearly upgrade them.
We'll see how big the gap truly is. We don't know yet on that one, in my opinion.
But like I said, I don't know if they're going to lean on Herbert throwing 34 times a game, but he definitely showed that he can do that, and he's always been kind of that type of quarterback you could lean on. He would put up these type of stats, but they never had the defense. So if he puts up these type of stats and the defense is, I'm not a huge fan of the personnel, but very well coached under Jesse Minter. Chargers could be a really sneaky Super Bowl contenders, probably a little rich, but they could make some noise in the playoffs if they keep this up. Like I said, it's only 1 week. So, but being the Chiefs, that's kind of been something they've struggled with, and Herbert, I think, proves a lot.
I think, sorry to interrupt, Dan, but I think Slater is the part that if they played like that and they had Slater and Alt, then you have the best tackle tandem in football. And that's where you inch a little more to Super Bowl contender. For them to be Super Bowl contender, that means that Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert, leaps Burrow and Lamar and is the 3rd best quarterback. So, yeah, that's a little rich, but I honestly think the Slater thing, when he got hurt, I took them from I felt good about them making the playoffs. I probably flipped them in Bengals in the playoffs, where I had Bengals at the 6, Bengals at the 7, moved them up to 6, moved Chargers down to 7. I feel pretty good about them making the playoffs now. If you had bets for Chargers making the playoffs, that was good value, I feel like, unless assuming this was real. Also, side note, there are Protector of the Year odds up. Alt is third. I think he's like fifth, plus 900. Sewell and Lane Johnson are ahead of him.
I think Joe. I may after this podcast. I may hammer that. I may put like just $10 on that. I think a lot of it is for the circumstances, and like the fact that he slid over to left tackle after Slater. I think if plus 900. I thought you were gonna say like plus like 500. I think 900 is great value.
No, I feel like especially with the Protector of the Year award, because all these voters, unless it's like an offensive lineman voted award, they don't truly know. They don't like. There could be a chance that Quinn Miners is the greatest offensive lineman this year, and we just don't know. It's going to be very what am I thinking of? Not storyline storyline based. Think of the other word.
I mean, that's a lot of like MVP stuff. It's a lot of like story, like narrative based.
Narrative, yeah, but I think this will be even more so because of all the things. I think they're probably worst at evaluating offensive linemen, which is fair. It's tough, but yeah. So plus 900, that's pretty good. Oh yeah, plus 2,000 Deion Dawkins is not bad. That's plus 2,000.
It's kind of weird. We haven't really talked about the Chiefs. I mean, like you said, and Patrick Mahomes played really well. I thought, Marquise Brown. After seeing the stat sheet after the game, I had no idea he had that many targets. Now it probably doesn't help that we were at our sister's birthday party this weekend, and out at the bars, and I probably lost track of what was going on. We were all over the place, but 16 targets, 10 catches, 99 yards. Juju, he was 5 catches, 55 yards.
Yeah.
Pacheco, I think I finally joined Dad's Pacheco opinion. Yeah. And I've been a Pacheco defender the last couple of years, but I don't know. I think the more worrisome concern for the Chiefs is actually the run game more than anything, more than the receiving issues. And I know the receiver issues, a lot of people, it's fair if you think that. And I think it's definitely a fair criticism of the Chiefs right now. But if they can't get the run game going, I think that's a far more, bigger concern for them moving forward.
No, yeah, I don't trust the Chiefs' weapon. I feel fine with the offense because Rice and Worthy are going to be back. I do think that Kelsey, he's not. He had 47 yards and a touchdown, but let's be honest, that touchdown was Andy Reid special. In an offense with no one, he's doing nothing. He's old. I mean, he's been great. I love Kelsey, but maybe he'll turn it up, but not a good start for him.
Let's move on to the Sunday games. Packers against the Lions. We're actually talking about Packers twice in this episode. Packers really made the Lions look like a pedestrian football team. And Lions, lost both coordinators, lost in some interior offensive linemen. It really looked like the Packers and Micah Parsons only played, I think, 34% of snaps and still had a sack, still produced a lot of pressures. The Packers really look like, I know it's only been 2 weeks for them, but I think they clearly are the best team in the league right now, top to bottom.
No, yeah. I mean, they look great. I was going to talk about them more when we talk about last night's game. So
yeah,
maybe more focus on the Lions. I mean, this is one of those ones where I'm calling this is a week 1 game. Lions, let them get into it. I'm not trying to overreact on the Lions because I still think the talent's all there. First time with new coordinators on each side. I think that maybe looking back at it, I should have been like, hey, Lions may get to a slow start because a lot of things have changed. So I do think that's real. I probably should have thought of that more before picking Lions to beat the Packers. But yeah, so I'm trying not to overreact. I do think there's something like the next game they face Bears. It's like, okay, you want to see them try to go down the field. Because, I mean, Gibbs, 10 catch, 31 is just, that's way too many catches for 31 yards. So you want to see him get down the field. Packers offense looking great. It's kind of hard to judge their defense right now. I'm
not just going to secondary, but if your pass rush is that good, you don't need like a really strong secondary.
Well, I'm talking about the Lions defense. I'm not talking about the
Packers. I'm talking about Packers. Okay.
I was talking about the Lions defense. Wasn't great. We'll see. We'll see on their defense. I'm more confident in their offense still figuring it out than the defense. But then, I mean, it's weird because then you look at Aaron Glenn. He left. Their defense got slaughtered by Aaron Rodgers and Calvin Austin. You're like, what? And then you look at Ben Johnson. I mean, I think we'll talk about more. Not as much Ben Johnson's fault, but then the offense, for the most part, for the Bears, looked pretty pedestrian. So it's weird. But I'm going to give the Lions time. I'm giving the Lions, at least their offense, I'm giving it time. interesting week 2 game.
See, I'm far more concerned about the Lions. I don't think the sky's falling, but there are some glaring, I think, weaknesses and downfalls that were exploited in that game. One, the whole offseason, we heard John Morton saying this is going to be an offense that pushes the ball down the field more. It was constant checkdowns. And I know we've had conversations about Jared Goff. I think he's a solid quarterback. But the one thing is once you create pressure, especially in the weakness of their offensive line now, which is in the interior, he can't get out of it. And Micah Parsons, he wrecked that game. I think if you can get Jared Goff pressured, he's a completely different quarterback, in my opinion. And for me, they have the weapons. I think defensively, you have a lot of healthy players coming back. I think there's a lot of glaring issues. And I think week 2, they cannot slip up in week 2 against the Bears because you're at the Ravens week 3 on Monday Night Football. The Lions, I think, have to win week 2, and we'll talk about that game later. But I'm far more concerned about the Lions than you are.
Must win week 2 is ridiculous.
Well, I didn't say must win. I'm saying
you said they have to win. That's the same phrase. There's no must win week 2 games. I don't. Teams start 0-3 and then win 10 straight. I'm not going to go must win, even though I think it'd be like, but it's one you don't want to lose. I mean, you don't want to lose any, but it's one you don't want to lose. But must win week 2 is wild. But I mean, again with the offense, I'm going to give it time. Goff, yeah, he's not good with pressure, and neither are most quarterbacks. And again with the Packers, we saw previewing a little, like they didn't let Washington go down the field, and Washington went down the field all the time last year. So that's kind of that may be a Packers thing, like how they're playing defense. So we'll have to watch out for that. But for the most part, I feel okay about the Lions. I'm not too concerned. I would say that they're not a top 2 team in the division, Packers, but that's more because the Packers have overtaken it.
Let's move to the primetime games. We have 2 primetime games we'll talk about. Ravens at the Bills. The Bills defeated the Ravens last year in AFC divisional round in that stadium. Ravens blew a 15-point lead with it. I think like 6 minutes left in the game. Mm-hmm. Derrick Henry fumbled. And really, I mean, Derrick Henry in the first quarter had 7 rushes for 101 yards and a touchdown. He finished with 18 carries for 169 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ravens look like clearly the better team, but how many times have we said that about the Ravens, over the last few years in games where they have big leads? Bills stayed the course of the game. Josh Allen put his Superman cape back on, and I think it's safe to say one of these 2 quarterbacks will probably win the MVP award.
No, yeah, I mean, that's unless, Justin Herbert goes and wins the AFC West, or, my boy Danny Dimes does some great stuff like he's done. He's looking spectacular. But, I mean, yeah, these 2 are probably the most – they're just insane to watch. And they're each great. And the loss is not on Lamar at all. I don't think he did anything wrong. I do think there is some truth coming out with, hey, the Ravens messed some stuff up. And Harbaugh, I think, is a great coach. There's some end-of-game stuff which they are not good at, which is now profound throughout many years. And even, the Bills gave them chances because they missed 3 2-point conversions. They missed 3. That's insane. Which is also wild because I didn't think that play calling was good on those plays. But, I mean, yeah, my takeaways game is Ravens offense is still, they're going to beat 99% of teams when they do that because not only 2 teams have or 3 if you count Burrow, have quarterbacks who are capable of things like that. But, yeah, they need to figure that out. And then the Bills, it's against the Ravens. And I remember the Ravens killed them last year. And I don't want to but the Bills defense, I'm not going to overreact on the defense, but we'll see what happens with that.
Well, and then I don't know if you saw, but Ed Oliver, they're viewing that he's already out for week 2. It's a multi-week injury, and he's I think he's their best defensive lineman by far.
Oh yeah, he was great. He was odd. He was very good.
Yeah, I think both teams.
That's concerning.
I think both teams, coaching wise, I think they're situationally flawed from a coaching standpoint. Both of these teams, defensively, I have some worries about both of these teams. The Ravens, it's always confusing to me because every year before the season starts, everybody says the Ravens by far have the best roster from top to bottom, and it's I just they have a really good team, but if they have the best roster, which apparently they've had for the last 3-4 years, that's not the case in my opinion.
This is why, that's right. If you just look at the defensive side, front 7 pretty good, but it's you don't have a superstar edge rusher. In the secondary, you have Kyle Hamilton, who's great. Are the corners good? I don't think so.
Jair Alexander hasn't been good in 2-3 years.
Every move the Packers have made just looks so good so far. I mean, they're like, Jair, you're gone. And it's like, well, that worked out. I mean, Jair was getting cooked by Josh Palmer, Keon Coleman. I mean, it was just like, so yeah, I agree. They don't have the best roster in football. I don't think any.
And receiver wise, I'm not like they have Zay Flowers and who else? Rashad Bateman.
I think
I'm not.
I think those. I like their receivers. I think Bateman's a low end 2. I think Flowers is a low end 1. But at the same time, you don't need really great receivers. Again, receivers are overrated to begin with in their value. And when you have 2 tight ends, and we're expecting Andrews still to be solid, you have 2 good tight ends. There's no likely. You don't need great receivers. Like that's just they don't need them. Now you have a top 3 quarterback and a top 2 running back. You don't need great receivers. I think they're serviceable. So their offense I think is great. I think it's the defense is not that great. You have solid pass rushers, a really good safety. Why am I blanking on the linebacker?
No, Roquan Smith.
They have Roquan Smith, who's pretty good, even though that one play.
The tackle time of James Cook was terrible. Yes,
but not the best roster in football.
No, so I think the main problem with the Ravens when they have these leads, they get very conservative. And even if you are playing conservative, you have Derrick Henry and Lamar. Just run the read option game. It can be as simple as that. If you want to run the clock out, just do that. And it's so puzzling to me. And this is the same narrative that we had last season, early in the season. They don't keep Derrick Henry on the field a lot. Like they'll put Justice Hill on the field, and when he's on the field, they're throwing. Or like it's really predictable at times when they take Derrick Henry off the field. Like you should have Derrick Henry on the field even when you're throwing the ball, just as a threat of the defense has to be honest with Derrick Henry taking a handoff. I do not understand why the Ravens do that so often. Like
they don't want to run him to dirt.
I'm not no, that's not my point. You can have him on the field and he doesn't have to be targeted on the play.
But that's still you block someone. You block someone that takes some juice off you. I get why he's not on the field all the time. I think they just need to be more unpredictable when he's off the field, or maybe throw it with him sometimes on the field on a first down. So I think the snap count's fine because he's older, bigger running back who's taking a lot of hits. I don't think you need those. I mean, pass blocks take a hit. Linebacker split blitzes at you, hit them. I mean, that's contact. So I think just more unpredictability. Because it works out great to start, but then once it gets in, they get a little dicey.
Yeah, and I also think the Ravens blew an opportunity. They should have gone for it on 4th and 2 at the end of the game.
100% agree.
When they punted the ball, I think everybody knew this game is over. Josh Allen at home only need a field goal. The Ravens have stopped them the entire time. They're playing a 2-minute offense.
Yeah.
Once they punted that ball, they lost the game.
I don't get why teams do that. If you have 3 or even 4 or less yards, the fastest quarterback ever, and you're facing one of the other best quarterbacks ever.
Well, it's 4th and 2.
4th, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. 4th and 4 and less. I don't care where you are on the field. A first down wins it. I don't care. It's so because the concept's stupid. Because maybe if you're on the 40 and you didn't love your kicker that night, or maybe you're on the 50, maybe you do go for it. But then they're getting it's dumb. It's dumb because if you punt it, then they're still getting 30, and Josh Allen's on a roll. Like that was just dumb. I think that's such an old school, some old school stuff with thinking and football is good. That's not one of them. You go for that.
You also play circumstances of the game, like situationally what's happening in the game, what's going on in the game. So, yeah, I agree with you on that one. Let's move to the Monday Night Football game. J.J. McCarthy making his debut, his first career start, hostile territory. It really looked bad. Like the first 3 quarters were really bad for J.J. McCarthy. Caleb Williams started out 10 for 10, but you really weren't. I didn't leave those 10 attempts leaving oh, this is really impressive. There's a lot of checkdowns. I think he was 10 for 10 for 51 yards and a rushing touchdown over the first quarter and a half of that game. It really wasn't impressive. There's a lot of times he holds onto the ball when there's actually receivers breaking open. Like if he goes through his reads and actually lets it rip, there's a play there to be made. Struggle with accuracy. J.J. McCarthy, you have to give him credit. The first 3 quarters, as I mentioned, were really bad. Throws a pick 6, and it really looked like that game is going to spiral out of control from there on. But J.J. McCarthy scoring 3 touchdowns in the 4th quarter, and now it leaves a lot of question marks about the Bears and, especially, Caleb Williams and his development.
Mm-hmm. I think this completely told what the world of quarterbacking is like and just like more of like how it should be viewed. Because yeah, Caleb was 10-10. He dumped it off. He made one really nice throw. He ran. But it's like in the end, it's like, oh, he's not controlling the game. And then JJ struggles. But like and on that, I saw the pick six. I mean, those pick sixes happen. And someone beats an out-breaking route, and it happens. I even saw Jefferson said he thinks he ran the route too quick because by the time play action happened, McCarthy had thrown it right away and the corner had time. And then McCarthy locks in. He makes a couple great plays, and he has all this momentum. And all the things that come out about him being a dog and a leader. I mean, and I was watching it, and I bet on the Vikings when they're down 11 because I was like, the Bears haven't played well. There's a pick six. Those happen. Sometimes you get a lucky pick six. And you know what he did? He went down there and won the game. It was fantastic. I mean, that's just – and Caleb, I mean, it's just – he's not a smart football player. And I think that's just – he's really talented. And also he was very inaccurate. I mean, the Bears defense, I thought pass rush looked pretty good in the first half especially. Slowed down in the second half, but good first half. They didn't even have the corners, but, I mean, I think the pass rush did a lot of the work and run game. I mean, the players got open. I think Ben Johnson did a good job. I think Caleb just screwed it up. And then J.J. McCarthy, with the help of the defense stepping up, and Kevin O'Connell being a great coach, and Justin Jefferson, he got the win. I think that just shows what quarterbacking's all about. And how one can be really talented, one not as much, but mentality, IQ, guts, all those things.
Yeah, and I think for Caleb, I think he has his priorities like backwards. Like before the season started, in a press conference, they asked him what his goals were, and he mentioned like being the first 4,000-yard passer in Bears history. Everybody knows that the Bears have never had a 4,000-yard passer, but you don't need that's something you don't need to say. I think last year the coaching staff nailed in his head not to throw interceptions, and he only threw 6, but only throwing 6 interceptions is not always a positive thing. It means that sometimes you are holding onto the ball and not taking the pass when the read is there, and I think that has kind of been in his process. Like I think he's prioritizing not turning the ball over. And so I think he's not letting the ball rip because of that. And then this offseason, they talk about just completions. And I think sometimes he's like, okay, I'll just take the check down and it's completion. But there's also completions to be made down the field as well that you're not taking. Like I think he has his priorities not in the right order. And I think it is affecting his play. I think it's really just all in his head. And to your point, quarterback, a lot of it is mental. A lot of it is, being smart enough to have those reads, know what the defense is doing. And I really think he's in his head right now, in his own head right now, and I don't think he's playing naturally. But I also think at times he doesn't see the field at all. Like he's not reading things clearly. So I think both those things can be true. But yeah, Caleb Williams, he needs to turn around. If he struggles again at Detroit, I mean, it's just going to be – I mean, Ben Johnson didn't draft this guy. Now, Ben Johnson probably took the job because he was like, Caleb Williams is a quarterback, has a lot of potential, but he didn't draft this quarterback. And he's already you can already tell he's kind of losing patience a little bit with him.
No, yeah, this is why I was all on over Caleb Williams having a tough start to his season. And I felt like that was pretty obvious and everything, that first drive. I mean, he looks good, but you just know something's off. And he hasn't played he doesn't play like an NFL quarterback. He never did. And talent can be one thing, but that's just not all that matters. And so that game, I felt very vindicated after that. And I still think Caleb could be a good quarterback, but I don't think it's going to be this. I don't think it's going to be this year, at least not in the early to middle part. Maybe he picks it up a little late, but lots of quarterbacks can do that. So my boy Bryce Young, I got all excited and then look at him in week 1. He looks atrocious versus the Jaguars. So, not good for him. Not good for him. But Vikings, I still believe in them. They had a weird start. So I'm still all in on my Vikings conviction to be great. I'm all in on that.
And I do want to be fair to Caleb. I think the criticisms are definitely fair and validated. You can definitely make all the criticisms you want about him. It is a new offense. I do expect him. The offense better be, I'm going to give him time to master the offense. It's a new scheme and all that. But like if when you said late season, I think it has to be by week 9, week 10, where you kind of see things clicking. He understands the system, understands what Ben Johnson wants to do. I don't think he can afford to wait till the whole season. And I am going to give him the benefit of doubt. New system. Quarterback sometimes it takes some time and a new system to master things, but he needs to do it. He needs to have it down by, I think, week 8 to 10. And that may be too late in some people's mind.
I mean, I think that's Much easier said than done.
Of course. Let's move to week 2 now. There's a Thursday night football game last night. Packers-Commanders, we've kind of already alluded to it. The Packers, made the Lions look bad. They made the Commanders look really bad. I think it was a coaching mismatch in that game. Dan Quinn, this is a problem, in my opinion, when you hire defensive guys as your head coach. Your defense better be really good. And I just don't think the Commanders have the personnel. But they kind of went all in on offense this offseason. And Debo, that addition looks really good. They got rid of Brian Robinson. They lost Austin Eckler for the year. But yeah, Packers once again dominant. Commanders I have some growing concerns with Commanders after 2 weeks now. Because they weren't that sharp against the Giants in week 1. They won by 15 points, but it wasn't that good. And Terry McLaurin looks like he's still trying to find his footing after holding out all offseason. And Packers, this game could have been much more of a blowout than it was. 9 points did not tell the whole story, in my opinion.
No, yeah, I still think if maybe it wasn't Russell Wilson, it was Dart or Winston, and they had some pass blocking, Giants could have won that game last week. So, and I wasn't high on Commanders to start, and yeah, it's all they won last year with a lot of, going on 4th down, Hail Mary. I think Daniels is great, and he's also a little inaccurate this year, which is a little weird, but I'm not too concerned about that. But yeah, it doesn't look good. I mean, Terry, they paid him. I didn't like that contract. Debo looks good, so you know what? That was probably a good trade, actually. Yeah, they lost Eckler. They should have been playing. It's not just for my fantasy team. Bill should be in. It should not be Eckler late in the game anyways, but he should be in more anyways. They went away from the run, and coaching, I think, definitely could be something. We could see Cliff. I could see Cliff kind of falling apart here.
I'm telling you, teams figure out Cliff after 1 year. That is a historical thing with Cliff.
Washington side, I'm concerned. And I think this game just cemented for me, the Packers they're so good. Because they go out big early, and then, when they're keeping the lead, they're just kind of running the ball, not doing much. Moment, it becomes a one-score game. Boom, 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 boom. Just geez. LaFleur just okay, I'm not losing this one for just some stupidity. Calls a couple nice plays. Tucker Kraft was great. They lost Jayden Reed. And it's I don't ever think that's big of a deal, but when he comes back, and if everyone's healthy, geez,
I'm kind of shocked that he's able. I thought broken collarbones were almost like a full season type thing. I didn't really they said 6 to 8 weeks. I was kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, it's always been like that. I feel like because I think Romo and Dak didn't Romo break his collarbone, but Romo came back. He was the backup because they just didn't take Dak out because Dak was playing well. But I'm pretty sure Romo was a collarbone that year. So yeah, I don't think it's ever been a year-long thing. So they'll be fine. They can rest him. He probably shouldn't. His foot thing. it could be so worried about his foot and your body.
Well, now that he's out, maybe they just get that because he was avoiding surgery with that.
No, yeah,
you have to get surgically repaired. Maybe you just get that surgically repaired as well.
I don't know how that works. 2 surgeries on the body, different parts. I don't know if that has some weird bodily effect, but yeah, you could heal that up too. So Jordan Love. Good quarterback, I feel like he's not going to be one of the great.
I think he was very solid last night. I did not think he was great. I think he lost. I think he left a few throws on field, and I've always said it. I haven't fully bought into the Jordan Love top 10 superstar quarterback because I do think Matt LaFleur. He schemes up a lot of. There was a lot of wide open throws.
Big top 10 doesn't mean superstar.
No, I know, but I'm just playing both categories to frame my point.
No, yeah, I never thought of him as a superstar. I think it's the 4, and then Daniels is there, and then Herbert could be there. And that's a lot of superstar quarterbacks, I feel like. But we're at 4 right now, confirmed. So yeah, I've never thought of that. But he could be in that Baker, Hurts, Big Stafford. I don't know how good Stafford is anymore. I feel like we need to check on that. But
I think Stafford kind of gets a little overrated.
I do too. I do too.
I think he's a bit overrated. Now, I think Love's comparable to Stroud. I know Stroud has not been good the last.
I don't know how good Stroud is now.
His offensive line situation, in my opinion, is very shaky, to say the least.
It's bad, but we also got to reevaluate Stroud. I remember, I'm taking Hurts ahead of Stroud at this moment. I'm not saying Stroud can't be better, but right now, give me Hurts. Oh yeah, it's an interesting thing, but I think Love's good enough. He's good enough. He can win a Super Bowl. He kind of goes for it, and if he makes it or misses, he still goes for it. So you got to respect that.
No, his average yards per attempt. He had 10 throws last night at 15+ yards. Like he's a gunslinger.
He did really good hitting the outside, like lots of out routes. I thought he was really good. He kept missing our boy Matthew Golden. It's like, dude, come on, just hit Matthew Golden. But yeah, he could be top 10 right up there with like Daniel Jones. Hand that to her.
You're insane.
Daniel Jones.
I think Daniel Jones, and I don't even want to be talking about Daniel Jones, but I think he was solid. I don't think he was like he had 2 quarterback sneaks, like those 2 rushing touchdowns. That like, I mean, those are
okay, but most quarterback rushing, but he got them down the field. But if he threw 1 yard passing touchdown, you say he had 3 passing touchdowns. That's why touchdowns themselves, the stat I think is overrated for quarterbacks. It's more about
a lot of it can be schemed and all that. Yeah.
So yeah, but he had 3 touchdowns. Don't try to disrespect his touchdowns. But like Love, okay, that was obviously a joke. But like Brock Purdy, I think is in that tier. Brock Purdy's hurt, but I think he was pretty good week 1. All the mess.
You think Brock Purdy's top 10?
Could be. I'd have to really think about it. I don't think like Stroud is like this better than Purdy.
I'm not saying. I didn't bring up Stroud.
I know, but Stroud is considered top 10 pretty easily, and like I don't know if he's better than Purdy. If you really start listing it, because you get past the 6, and then it's all about preference. I think Baker and Hurts are in there. So that's 7, 8. And then that 9, 10 could be Love. It could be Stroud. It could be Purdy. It could be Dak. It could be Stafford. It could be Bo Nick starts playing better. It could be Goff. It could be is there any other contenders? I'm just going down the list of names. No, yeah, I think that's about, I mean, for the current time being, yeah.
I think
Smith, me, if you really like Geno Smith.
I think the top 6 are pretty set in stone. And I think you got 5 and 6, you can flip it. Whatever. I think the top 6 is pretty set in stone, though.
But I also think Baker and Hurts are top 10. And I think, for me, I feel like that should be set in stone. Like, they're top 10. Like, after what I've seen a little bit, it's like, you know, Jalen Hurts, he's 2 great Super Bowls. He's top 10. He may have a great team around him. He's still top 10. And Baker is a dog. Didn't look great. He's top 10. 9 and 10. I don't know how good I feel about Stafford right now or Stroud.
Wait, so you don't have Stafford's top 10?
I think he has the spot, but I think if I watch 2 more weeks, I'm not impressed. I think he can leave the spot because like it's not like he's been super duper impressive past couple of years. I think we're doing a lot. Like he's played well in the playoffs, but I think we're doing a lot of like Stroud when he's healthy and he's a vet and all that. And just because I like the vets and he knows a lot doesn't make him top 10 automatic. So I think that's interesting.
Anything else from this game or, you know, in these teams in general that you want to touch on before we move into our week 2 predictions?
No, man, I think we're ready.
All right, so let's move to our picks for week 2. Week 1 was a bit shaky for me. I was 8-8 on money line and 5-10-1 against the spread. Not a good week. I was average on money line. Was I worse than you? It was not a good week.
Yeah,
I picked a lot of like upset picks, and all my upset picks, like I picked Baltimore, they lost. I picked Bears, they lost. Those are 2 blown leads. I picked Houston, they were driving about to win the game. I picked Seattle, they were driving about to win the game. A lot of things went wrong for me this week, especially in crunch time and late in games.
Well, I went 9-7. Had some bad picks.
That's not how.
No, but you still did worse on both, and I wasn't expecting that. So the tie is the 3rd number? I always get that mixed up.
Yeah, tie's the 3rd
number. Spread. Okay, I always put
you don't say 5-1 and 8.
I always 5 in the middle. I don't know why. And now 6-9-1. So you know.
Okay, so we were.
But I still did better. I did better, was what I was saying. I didn't think I was.
No, but the way you made it sound, like okay, he went like 11.
No, I went more. Oh, did better than you. It's more like, oh, I'm surprised because I didn't do well.
Well, no, if I were you too, I'd be surprised as well that you did better than me in picking.
Well, I didn't have a good week. Usually, I have great weeks.
There was a week last year I went undefeated. Like I picked all the games right now.
You picked every favorite. It was an all favorite week, and you.
Hey, you gotta do it, man. You gotta do what you gotta do to make some money. Let's move to our week 2 picks. As I mentioned, the first game, Jaguars at the Bengals. Bengals minus 3.5. I think both teams were pretty unimpressive in week 1. Both got the win. You know, Jaguars won by 16 points. Bengals, I think, were thoroughly outplayed by the Browns in every facet of the game, but still won by 1 point. This is an interesting game. What's like the keys to the game for you? What are you going to watch for, and who do you ultimately have winning this game?
For me, this game's pretty simple. Joe Burrow had a bad week 1, even though he does that all the time, and honestly, he has a solid amount of bad week 2s. I don't think he's going to have a bad week 2. And you know what? Trevor Lawrence, I don't think he's that good. So yeah, I'm gonna Bengals winning -3.5. We'll see how much the Jags compete, but I really feel like this is, Travis Hunter's supposed to play more corner this week, which I still think it's so stupid they pick him too and play him more receiver. Like, you don't trade up all that and pick a guy number 2 who's a receiver who's probably never gonna be a top 10 receiver. The more I look at that trade, the more stupid it is with how they're playing it. Trade up for number 2. It's a receiver corner. It's supposed to be a corner, but yeah. So I feel like Bengals. We're going to do a good job. Nice bounce back. They're going to be 2-0. -3.5.
You have them covering as well?
Yeah.
Okay. This game was actually really tricky for me to pick. And the Bengals, historically, weeks 1 and 2 with Burrow are not good. They really start out slow. I actually have the upset pick in this game. I don't feel great about the prediction, but I do think, and I agree with you, Jacksonville. Travis Hunter, I'm fine with him playing both ways. But I think they misutilize him on offense. He's taking all the underneath stuff. He's incredibly athletic. You can definitely use him more down the field. And Trevor Lawrence, he was bad. Like, he missed Brian Thomas Jr. I think they only completed one pass. They only connected one time.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor Lawrence, he may be one of the most frustrating players to watch in the league because he has all the tools. I think he's a smart quarterback, but I don't know what it is. I just don't know if he doesn't have a mentality of taking over games. I don't know what it is, but I am going to take Jacksonville in this game. Like I said, I don't feel great about it. But the Bengals, to me, last week was very concerning. I know the offense is not going to play like that all the time, but they were thoroughly outplayed. Like, they had no right to win that game. And Joe Burrow only had 118 yards. I'm going to continue the trend of weeks 1 and 2. It's a 2-week thing. I think they could struggle again. I'm going to take Jacksonville's 1 to win. So I think it could be another ugly game, but I'm going to take I think a pretty substantial upset in that game. Giants versus the Cowboys. Last week you put a lot of trust in the Giants. Had a lot of bets on them.
I messed up.
Had a lot of bets on Russell Wilson, who I think he's done. I think it's safe to say that he's a bottom 5 quarterback at this point.
Yeah, I think he's done. Yeah, they need to put in Jameis if they're not going to put in Dart.
Yeah. Cowboys -5.5. They had a really impressive game against the Eagles, even though they fell short. Do you see another blowout for the Giants?
I do not. I think that the Cowboys, they competed well against the Eagles, but it's really weird. Jalen Carter spit. Eagles defense didn't play that well. I think the Giants are going to bounce back a little bit. They're not going to. I think they were in that Washington game. They were in the game. It was a one-score game in the fourth quarter, and I think they had the ball, if I remember correctly, and they just couldn't move. And I think they're going to bounce back. Dable's probably going to get in the kitchen, start cooking a little bit with whatever he can with Russ. O-line should play better because you really can't play that bad again, but Russ also can't play that bad again. And the pass rush is good, so I think they'll keep it close, but I think Cowboys are better. Cowboys should win. Now, if you told me Jameis was starting, I'd be like, and Andrew Thomas was playing, I'd probably pick Giants. But I'm going to have Cowboys winning. No, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But I'm going to have Cowboys winning, but Giants covering the 5.5.
I have the Cowboys winning this game and covering. It's hard for me to imagine Russell Wilson is still a starter after Monday. Did we cut out?
Yep, you're back.
Okay, I'm back. Okay, cool. What I was saying was Giants, it wouldn't surprise me if they have a different quarterback starting in week 3 and that they announce it Monday, Tuesday, that they're either starting Winston or Dart. I think the Giants are such in a tough situation, especially Brian Dable, because he has to win. He may have to win to save his job. Ownership may not give him another year, but I would not be throwing Jackson Dart behind this offensive line, especially with the type of schedule coming. With the type of schedule coming up, I know you have Saints in week 4, week 5, but that stretch with Eagles, Denver Eagles, I don't know if I want Jackson Dart playing in those games. I would if they made a quarterback change, I would put Jameis Winston in there, and I know Dart is listed as a number 2 quarterback, but maybe you put Winston in there, and then I also think if you end up ultimately benching Russell Wilson, I think you may have to cut him because you have this type of profile that you don't really want to be a distraction with your young quarterback. I mean, Malik Neighbors had 12 targets last week, only came down 5 catches. That's not a Malik Neighbors stat. That's Russell Wilson not being able to throw accurate passes.
Well,
I liked what I saw from the Cowboys. I'm not a huge proponent of the Cowboys this year. I still think they're going to be a below-average team, but against the Giants, I think they're going to look pretty competent against that coach staff. And Giants, 3 years in a row now, have not scored a touchdown in the opening game, which
that's bad.
That's pretty bad. So I'm going to take Cowboys minus 5.5.
It'll be interesting. Is Jameis active or is he emergency quarterback? Because he can't come in mid-game if he's emergency quarterback unless Dart also gets hurt. Oh, well, yeah, Wilson would have to get hurt and Dart.
Yes, and my pick could be wrong. Like if they move Russ or if they bench Russell Wilson mid-game, I can definitely look.
That's what I'm hoping for with this pick. Kind of hoping for it.
Next game, Bears versus the Lions. We've talked a lot about both of these teams. Lions -6. Both teams coming off disappointing results in week 1. How do you see this one playing out? I feel like we're going to be on the same page here.
Yeah, I'm not really giving much analysis on this one because we kind of talked about them a lot. I feel like it's pretty obvious what I'm picking. Lions -6. They bounce back. I think the offense gets going. Dan Campbell gets going. Maybe Aiden Hutchinson gets a strip sack. Lions -6.
Yeah, it's Ben Johnson's return to Detroit, so those players are probably going to really want to play for him. I think the Lions, this is a game where I think they're going to dominate on the ground. I would make a bet with Dave Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs each scoring touchdowns in this one. I don't think Jared Goff's going to have to do a lot in this game. I think they're going to turn around and hand the ball off a lot. We saw the Vikings in week 1 when J.J. McCarthy was struggling. They turned around, handed Jordan Mason the ball, and that really jump-started their comeback on Monday night. I think the Lions have the potential or have the talent to throw it against the Bears. But the Bears, now they have Jalen Johnson coming back. You have multiple defensive pieces coming back. I was actually quite impressed with the Bears defense for the most part in that game without multiple starters. And I do think Jalen Johnson, this Bears pass defense is a very good pass defense, but it's a run funnel defense. And I think the Lions will take advantage of that. So I have the Lions covering the -6 as well. Next game, Rams at the Titans. For me, I think this is a straightforward game. I'm curious where you are at this game. Rams -5.5 on the road. Cam Ward's second start.
So I think Cam Moore's pretty good last week. I think the Rams beat. We'll see how good the Texans are. But I was thinking a lot. I'm picking Rams money line. I was going through, do they cover? Do they not cover? And I was going to put them not to cover, but then I thought about it. I'm like, the Broncos played terrible against this Titans team. And they still nearly covered. They won by 8. And Bo Nix was terrible. And I don't think Stafford's going to play as bad as Bo Nix did last week. So I got Rams -5.5. I don't think it's too complicated there. Just, is the defense play well and Stafford not suck? Rams should cover 5.5.
I do think they have an underrated defensive front. Like, they were very stout against the Houston. Now, Houston, not a good offensive line. But I do think in general, Houston, much better team than Tennessee. For me, it's this game, I think the biggest gap is coaching. I'm taking Sean McVay over Brian Callahan, who I think Brian Callahan is the worst. He's arguably the worst coach in the NFL. Doesn't even know rules. Pretty bad look. I've never been a huge fan of him. Rams -5.5. It feels pretty safe. I bet the Rams money line this week without the spread, but I do think that -5.5 is. I think that's pretty comfortable spread for the Rams in this one. Next game, Patriots at the Dolphins. Your boy Drake May did not look good last week.
No, he didn't. He had some moments, but it was not good. It was not good.
And the Dolphins look like they put their JV team out there. Dolphins are -2.5 in this game. This is such a stay-away game for me in terms of betting-wise. I feel like I know where you're going in this game, but who do you have winning this game?
There's not much analysis in my pick. Not much analysis. It's more just – this feels like one of those everyone's bashing the Dolphins, but they're 7-0 against Patriots, and it's just weird. And people are bashing the Dolphins. No analysis. Patriots aren't that good either. May needs to step up. But maybe May looks like a stud. So there's a chance that happens. But I'm going Dolphins -2.5. I don't like it. I wouldn't bet this with anything. I wouldn't put a penny on it. Dolphins -2. Not much. I don't like it. I hate it. But just something my gut tells me they're going to win.
I'm on the other side of this. I'm taking the Patriots. I think better coach, in my opinion, potentially a better quarterback. Even though Drake May hasn't really proved it yet that we don't know if he's a good quarterback. But I'm going to take his skill set over Tua's. Tua behind a really bad offensive line. The Patriots invested a lot on that defense. If Christian Gonzalez is playing, which he's not, I would be pretty confident in this pick. But I think Patriots overall, better coaching. I think they have better pieces on both sides of the ball. I would say, especially defense, I trust their defense more. I think their running game, you can lean on that if Drake May is struggling. Dolphins are not going to be able to rely on Devon Achane. Colts really shut down the Dolphins' running game last week. I'm going to trust the Patriots to win this game. It's going to be another ugly game. I hope you don't want us to watch that game. I hope you don't put us on Sunday Ticket. But yeah, I have the Patriots win this game, and the Dolphins' dumpster fire is going to be set ablaze after this week.
I can't hate that. I just gut feel. Yep.
Next game, another noon game. 49ers -3 versus Saints. No George Kittle, no Brock Purdy, potentially no Juwan Jennings. And the Saints, it's kind of come in healthy, but still potentially a worse roster, even at the 49ers at the state.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about this. I have Niners -3. I think that Mac Jones played a little bit last year. He's not a starter, but he was pretty okay. You can argue he was better than Trevor Lawrence last year, which isn't saying a ton, but it's saying something. And that's with Jacksonville. And now he's with Kyle Shanahan, probably the quarterback Kyle Shanahan truly wanted to draft that year in 2020. Saints aren't that good. I think it'll probably be a boring game. But Niners defense, I think, is pretty good. I think it's pretty solid defense. I think that they got some stuff going. I think that I always thought it was like they have like two great linebackers. They still have some good people up front, a couple of nice secondary players. It's not superstars, but a nice rock. Well, Nick Bosa is, and Fred Warner is too, and D. Winter is actually really good. So they do, they have an underrated roster on defense, and Robert Saleh. So I mean, I'd probably like 20-13 type. Niners cover. They don't score a lot, but they get the job done. McCaffrey gets some work in. Maybe we'll get some Russell Gage, some Sky Moore catches. Yeah, Niners -3. Who knows?
I agree with you on the pick, but your analysis at the end was really bad.
Someone has to catch the ball.
And it's going to be McCaffrey. I have 49ers -3 as well.
He would do a lot of that.
Yes, I played against him in fantasy last week. Very frustrating. I have 49ers as well. I think Robert Saleh and that defense is going to carry the load this week. I don't expect a lot from the offense. I think it could be remotely the same as last week's game against Seattle. And Seattle caused a lot of issues for 49ers last week. I don't think Saints defense has that capability. So I think it's going to be an ugly game. I can see another 17-13 type of game, 20-16 type of game. I have 49ers covering, but I actually have them barely covering. I would give it like a 4 to 5 point game in this one. Bills at the Jets. Bills are 6.5 point favorites. Jets, surprisingly, offense very good, defense very bad last week against Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. Is there any, do the Jets carry that performance over to week 2? And is there any potential that Jets cause issues for the Bills in this game?
I think they could cause some issues. I mean, in the end, Josh Allen's Josh Allen, but I think the Jets keep it competitive. I think, especially with that Oliver out, I think Jets run game, which is pretty good, even though they lost Vera Tucker, so it kind of cancels out. I still think the run game's pretty solid. So I think they kind of keep it close, but it's always like the Bills are going to win the game type of deal. Still Josh Allen. The offense for the Bills looks really good. So I have Bills winning, but I have Jets covering the spread. I would not bet on the spread. I feel like a backdoor type of cover is what I'm feeling, where like Bills go up like 12 with 3 minutes left, and then Jets get a touchdown with 20 seconds left type deal.
Yeah, I have the Jets covering and the Bills winning this game. I think that Oliver injury is a really significant loss for the Bills. The Jets want to run the ball, and now they have they have no excuse not to run the ball now. You don't have the defense interior with that Oliver. Bills defense. I'm always not impressed with over the last 2-3 years. I've not been impressed with them, and I don't think they're that great of a unit. I think Jets could cause some issues. Justin Fields, well, if he plays like he did last week, I give him a slim chance of winning, but they could put the Bills on upset alert. But I think Josh Allen, in the end, he's just too much overall. And if the Jets defense is remotely what they were last week, Bills could blow them out if Jets defense plays like that. But I think Aaron Glenn's going to have a defense more focused, better in check. I'm taking the Bills winning, but the Jets covering the 6.5 points.
Mm-hmm.
Next game, Seattle at Steelers. Steelers -3. This is actually a really fascinating game to me. You probably don't agree with me on that. I think you.
I don't. I think honestly, the more games I look at, I don't love a lot of these games. I wrote down Seattle wrong. Seattle's or no, I did write it right. You said Seattle -3. I'm pretty sure. You got me all confused. I thought I heard Seattle. Well, I have Seattle covering the 3 and winning. I don't think it's going to be a great game. Maybe
Wait,
CJ
Seattle?
Yeah, I guess Seattle.
Okay.
I don't love Pittsburgh. Rodgers is great, and you got to give him credit, but is he going to carry that into week 2? We'll see. Again, Seattle's not that good. I predicted this. Pretty sure I'm right after everyone in the Niners got hurt and they missed field goals, and Niners still won. But I have Seattle. I think another JSN, big game, rushing offense looks good. Pittsburgh's defense not being good. Like, if that's real, that's a problem.
It's an old defense, man.
It is an old defense. And if they're not that good, that's a serious issue because, yeah, the defensive coaches had a bad week 1, just in terms of coaching defense. Sean McDermott, Mike Tomlin,
John Harbaugh.
John Harbaugh's not a defensive coach per se. He's a special teams guy. He's more of an overall coach. He's not a defensive coach. There's a couple others out there, but not loving the Pittsburgh defense. I think Seattle's offense has some sparks, and I think the sparks will fly enough to take home the win.
I have the same pick. I thought this was going to be a disagreement for us. It's fair that you don't think Seattle's a good team. I totally get that. I do think their defense is criminally underrated. Like I know that last week you could say that their defense looked good because of the situation. That's a really good defense in my opinion.
I don't even think it looked good. Just because you got some pressure. They hit field goals. They have 26 points. That's a bad.
They forced 2 interceptions off your top 10 quarterback Brock Purdy.
Yeah, and he's chucking it because no one's open. That's why there's context to everything. You got to add context. He's just chucking up to Pearsall because he's going to
Seattle's defense. If you
I don't think so.
Seattle's defense is good, and
I think they're wrong. I think they're wrong.
I think they're going to cause issues for Pittsburgh. I think they're going to blitz Aaron Rodgers a lot. Aaron Rodgers can't move. At least Brock Purdy can move, and I think the offensive line for Steelers is. I think it's somewhat in the same realm as the 49ers offensive line. I don't think it's that great of a unit. I think the Seahawks are going to focus on. I can see them doubling DK Metcalf and forcing Aaron Rodgers to beat them elsewhere. I don't trust the Steelers.
He did beat the Jets elsewhere. He did beat the Jets elsewhere.
No, like I said, I think Seattle could have a better defense than the Jets. I think that could be a possibility. And I do think the run game for Steelers is also suspect. I don't trust that backfield. Jalen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, Caleb Johnson was pretty bad. I like Seattle's one, and if Seattle loses again, I probably stop picking them. But I do like Seattle in week 2 on the road against the Steelers. Next game, like I said, I don't think this one needs much explanation. Browns at the Ravens. Ravens -11.5. I think the only discussion in this game is if you are taking the points or giving them to the Browns.
I think this is going to be a solid game. I actually think this is going to be not a bad game. I think the Browns, a little better than people think, should have won. Had 2 weird interceptions, missed field goal and missed PAT. Really held down the Bengals offense, which no matter what you want to say about early, if you hold them down to the level that they did, that's kind of insane. And they play the Ravens well. So I have Browns covering. I don't have them winning, but I have them covering 11.5 is a lot of points. Like, that's a lot of points for a Ravens team who's coming after a demoralizing loss. And the Browns really showed what's up and that they're a solid team. I don't like that Delpit's talking all this trash to Derrick Henry, but I'm sticking with the 11.5.
I'm going to take the Browns and the points as well. I have the Browns covering 11.5. When the week first started, I would probably, if we made these picks on Monday or Tuesday, I'd probably tell you Ravens -11.5. But division rival, AFC North rival. Remember, Ravens last year lost the demoralizing game to the Chiefs in week 1, and then week 2 they laid it out against the Raiders. And that was another game in which they blew a lead. They had a double-digit lead, blew it against Gardner Minshew and company. I think Ravens could have another big lead like that, and maybe the Browns come crawling back. But I do think this game stays relatively close throughout. But I do think Ravens can win by double digits, but 11.5 points still a lot. Like you said, though, Delpit talking all that trash to Derrick Henry. I would not be surprised if Derrick Henry has like 150 and 2 in this game just because of, that type of trash talk going on. But I'll take the Browns. I think they are well coached. They have a solid roster. You have competent quarterback play, which they haven't had in quite a few years. So I'll take it. Relatively close game. Broncos at the Colts. Broncos are -1.5. Bo Nix struggled last week. Daniel Jones played really well. I don't know if you saw this stat about Daniel Jones last week, but he was the only quarterback in the NFL that actually did not play against the NFL defense.
You really like to just talk down on Daniel Jones any weekend. You just can't sometimes admit.
Who do you have in this game?
There's probably worse defenses than Dolphins, even though there's probably not many. This was a tough one for me because, Dan Jones is my boy, but I also think Bo Nix really good after he struggled. And I was thinking about Lou, what's his last name? The Colts new D coordinator who was with the Bengals.
Amarudo.
Something like that. Lou, great defensive coordinator, and how he's tricky, and maybe Bo Nix.
Wait, you think Bo Nix is great after he struggled?
No, I didn't say
last
that.
Week. Oh, I heard great after he struggled.
No, that's not what I said. I don't know what I said, but it wasn't great after he struggled.
Go ahead.
But so I was kind of torn, but I really thought about it, and the Denver defense is good enough, and I think Bo Nix bounces back enough. I'm going to take Denver, obviously, with the -1.5. I do think it'll be kind of close. Daniel Jones, I think, will have a solid game. Nothing special. Denver's a good defense, really good defense. But, this is a must-watch game right here. But give me Denver.
Yeah, I think this is a game where you'll actually learn a lot about both teams, I think. Now, for me, I do think that this could be a rude awakening for the Colts. Not saying it's going to happen, but I do think going from playing against Miami's defense to then an elite defense like the Broncos, you could see this Colts – like Colts had 7 drives, 7 scores last week. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near close to that. It could be a rude awakening. I'm not a huge fan of either quarterback, but the one thing when I was thinking about who to win this game, the one thing that stood out was the Broncos defense. And I do think that's going to be the difference in this game. I think Bo Nix makes enough plays. Travis Ward's out with a concussion. I think that's somewhat of a big loss in the passing game, even though, as I said, I'm not a huge fan of Bo Nix. Don't think he's that great of a quarterback. I think a lot of it is the system. But I do think Bo Nix makes enough plays in this one to win. I have the Broncos winning, and 1.5 points, I think they clearly cover that. Not to say it's a blowout, but I think 1.5 points is it's a measly amount of points. So Broncos and the points is my pick for that game. Panthers at the Cardinals. Cardinals -6.5. I think I remember you saying that this could be an upset game for the Panthers, but Bryce Young didn't really invoke any confidence.
Bryce Young was not good, but he's the bounce back kid. No, they were bad, but I don't think Cardinals were that good either. And again, I don't think Cardinals are a good team in the slightest. So the points were easy for me. I was taking the points. But I am going to say Cardinals win just because Bryce Young feels a little better. Maybe I would have picked the Panthers, but he was pretty bad. But I do think it'll be a close game, probably ugly. Maybe a couple nice throws by each quarterback, a couple bad throws by each quarterback. We'll see who has the better running game. But give me Panthers points, Cardinals. I need a circle, Cardinals. Cardinals win.
So for me, I think a key matchup in this game is Tatori McMillan versus Will Johnson. Will Johnson, he was a shutdown corner last week in the second half, and I know it was against the Saints. I know outside of Chris Olave, they don't really have anybody else. But Will Johnson, he may prove a lot of people wrong because he was supposed to be a top 10, 15 pick, and then he had the back issue, other injuries that were kind of red flags for multiple teams. If he proves to be a really good corner, the Cardinals have invested a lot on that side of the ball defensively in the last 2 years in the draft and free agency. Kyler Murray, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of his either, but he was sick last week. I'm not sure if you knew what he was dealing with. I'm not going to take it. Pretty gross. But yeah, I'm going to take Cardinals and the points here. Bryce Young, outside of the 3-4 games he played really well last year, is there really anything else that you could point to? Is like, oh, this guy's good, a good quarterback? I don't think so. He got benched last year for Andy Dalton. Started out slow last year as well. And Panthers really bad run defense as well. Travis Etienne had 143 yards on 16 carries last week. And Cardinals had James Conner and Trey Benson, who got a lot of work as well last week. So I'm going to take Cardinals and the points. It's always it's always a tough proposition to take Cardinals and Kyler Murray and give them also a spread as large as this, but I just don't trust the Panthers at all. Potentially game of the week. I think these games it could disappoint because one of these teams offensively is dealing with injuries. Eagles at the Chiefs. Eagles -1 Super Bowl rematch. Do the Chiefs get their revenge against the Eagles, or is the loss of Worthy not having Rice too much to overcome for Kansas City?
I was pretty torn on this game and being as non-biased as possible. Because thinking like Chiefs bounce back and then Eagles didn't look great.
You're taking the
Eagles. Super Bowl. They're
Hangover.
trying to Super Bowl hangover. Then there's no Worthy. We'll see how AJ Brown plays. But I didn't think. Can you just let me talk? You're interrupting me. But then the Eagles defense, like the secondary looked good, so Mahomes could take advantage of it. I am taking Eagles. I don't want to take Eagles. But I did pick Chargers last week, and then someone convinced me to put Chiefs in a free bet. I'm not going to say who that was. I need to go with my gut.
I think it was like one of 6 roommates. I know it wasn't me.
No, that was you. That's your fault. But I got Eagles. I don't like it. It should be an interesting game. I think it'll be a good game, but something's just off with our boys. Yeah, Eagles.
Really tough game. So I think in the Super Bowl, and in week 1 for that matter, we saw the Chiefs kind of go all out to stop the run. I think the Chiefs are just going to have to focus on playing a balanced defense. I don't think you can go all in on stopping one area or the other. And obviously, if you had to pick one, feature of the Eagles' offense to, nail down on and try to stop, it is the run game. But I think the Chiefs have to play a natural defense, not overcommit to the run. And I think, Chiefs are somewhat of a desperate team this week. If you start 0-2, you have these injuries. Rashee Rice isn't back for another 4 weeks. You have games coming up on schedule that are really tough. My gut tells me Eagles, but my heart tells me Chiefs. I'm going to take the Chiefs in this one just off of what I feel. I think that I think there's desperation in that building to get a win. You're at home, season opener. Patrick Mahomes has never lost 3 straight games in his career. If you count the Super Bowl, this would be the 3rd straight game he loses. I am going to take the Chiefs to win this one, and I do think it's going to be a defense. If they win, it's going to have to be, a defensive battle. I don't think they can keep up with the Eagles offensively if they let Eagles score. That was pretty apparent from the Super Bowl. But I'm going to trust the Chiefs defense. I think they show up, and I think Patrick Mahomes does enough against the Eagles. Sunday night. So we have 1 Sunday night game and 2 Monday night games. I think each of these primetime games are very interesting. Sunday night, Falcons at the Vikings. Vikings -3.5. Another game where we could both these teams could be 1-0, both these teams could be 0-1. The Falcons could easily be 1-0. What do you have in this game? How do you see this one playing out?
This one's pretty easy for me. I've watched enough of the Falcons. They're a mess. Even when they're good, they're a mess. They screw something up.
Their defense actually looked really solid last week.
Defense looked pretty solid, but they're still a mess. And the Vikings is pretty sure Darrisaw is playing this week, or is he? Or it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. After what I saw, I can't pick against the Vikings. I was all in, and then they had that comeback. So, yeah, I got Vikings -3.5. J.J. McCarthy now has his first taste of NFL play, and he bounced back in a huge way. Not saying Michael Penix isn't good, but I like J.J. McCarthy. I think they're going to get this win, and, yeah, I can't go against them. They're my 1 seed pick. So, yeah. Vikings.
So, I'm looking – there's some injury report. So, Dallas Goedert out. Which I didn't mention that, but I think that's a huge loss for Eagles in their passing game. He was anchoring that passing game last week against the Cowboys. Joey Porter out, which for Steelers, I think that's JSN now he may carry over that 53% target share. Devon Witherspoon out, and I'll talk about some other injury news in these other games coming up. But did you have Vikings covering?
Yeah.
Okay, I have Vikings winning, but I have the Falcons covering. It may be another heartbreaking loss for the Falcons. Young Hoku, I'm never the kick. He drives me insane. Like if I was a Falcons fan, I would.
Yeah, I think he's lost his greatness he had for me that one year.
I think Vikings win this. I'm going to trust Kevin O'Connell against why is his name slipping? The Falcons head coach. Why is his name slipping in my head? I know who he was a Rams defense corner.
Yeah, Raheem Morris.
Thank you. I'm going to take that matchup. I think Vikings at home defense is going to show up. Brian Flores' defense, it was very good last week. Has a lot of looks that confuse a lot of quarterbacks. Drake London's banged up. Darnell Mooney's banged up. Both playing and both practice every day this week, which I was kind of surprised for Drake London. But I'm going to take Vikings to win. But I do think Falcons do cover. I think J.J. McCarthy, I'm still not fully bought in, but very impressive fourth quarter. But I do think he's still really young quarterback. Falcons defense looked really solid last week, so I think this is going to be a pretty close game. But I'll give the edge to the Vikings and that coaching staff. The first of the two Monday night games, which I'm not relatively a fan of, Buccaneers at the Texans. Texans minus 2.5. Does the Buccaneers offensive, slow start from last week, offensive line issues from last week, does that concern you against this elite Houston defense?
Yeah, there definitely are concerns, and there's concerns on both sides. I mean, these teams, it could be week 10, and maybe the offensive line picks it up, and maybe Stroud gets back to his rookie form, and then maybe Bucks get people back, and they're more humming. So I don't think these teams could be bad teams. I'm more wary on the Texans to be a good team, but I am going to have the Texans win this one. Minus 2.5. I don't like it. I wouldn't bet this. Bucks got lucky. I could see them getting unlucky this week. Yeah, I mean, this was a tough one, and I would not, there's a lot of games I would not bet on this week. So I'm gonna stick with Texans, but I don't love it. I'm not a fan of it. Yeah, we'll stick. I'm just looking at it, and I'll stick with Texans minus 2.5.
I feel pretty good about the Texans in this game. I know I said the same thing about week 1. They looked really bad. Here's two things. Bucky Irving last week, 14 of 37. And this is not an anti-Bucky Irving, all right, but he was 14 for 37 against, we would say Atlanta's never been a good run defense. Not really. Yeah. They haven't had a double-digit sack guy since 2013 or so.
Mm-hmm.
They drafted two defensive linemen, and they really shut down Tampa. Baker Mayfield made some huge plays at the end. That offense was really not that good. Baker Mayfield, for the most part, was running for his life. They didn't really get the run game going. Mike Evans had 5 catches, 51 yards. That was fine. But I do think Derek Stingley, that pass rush, I think Baker Mayfield's going to be running for his life again. And Houston's defensive line, I think, is going to win this game for the Texans. And I think Nico Collins kind of bounces back in this one. So I'm going to take Texans minus 2.5. And I could see Texans winning this game by double digits. I do think that they're another team that kind of needs a win this week. They lost last week. Didn't score any touchdowns. Didn't exude any offensive firepower. But I think Stroud, this offensive line, because I also don't think Tampa Bay has that great of a pass rush either. So I don't think they're going to be able to exploit Texans offensive line as well. So I'll take Texans minus 2.5. Last game of the week, Chargers at the Raiders. Chargers minus 3.5. Injury update: Brock Bowers did not practice today. So if that changes your mind, anything about things, but Chargers minus 3.5.
It doesn't change anything.
Go ahead.
My real thing is my concern is this is the type of game Herbert has a great game and then he loses to the Raiders, where it's he doesn't play terrible but he doesn't win it, and you have Geno Smith who sometimes cannot play great, but then I kind of trust Geno Smith at times. But I think Herbert's gonna get this one done. I think he's gonna get it done. And I think this would be, honestly, an underrated win for him. Go 2-0 division to start. Raiders are going to be a solid team. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. Start 2-0. He has 2 good performances in a row. We'll see how that all works out. It's a little tough because these are the games he screws up after he plays great. But I'm sticking with him. I'm sticking with the Chargers. Minus 3.5.
I don't think Raiders are that great of a team. I think their performance against the Patriots last week should not give – if you have an opinion about them that they're going to be good, or opinion about them that they're going to be bad, or just not that great.
Yeah.
I don't think your opinion really changes from last week's game. I really don't. That game, it was 20-13, and for the most part, the Patriots were in the game the entire stretch, and Drake May was pitiful. Raiders do not have a good defense, and I know you're worried about Herbert, but I don't think Herbert's going to have to do what he did last week. He may not have to throw the ball 34 times.
No, but it's just about him screwing up.
No, I know. I understand what you're saying, but Raiders defense, not that good. Joe Alt has proven that he can now be their lockdown left tackle. Hampton, I think, is going to get a lot of carries. Keenan Allen's your number 2, very dependable. Quinn Johnson, I think, could exploit some stuff down the field. Lam McConkey, we all know about him. The Raiders, for me, that win did nothing for me last week in terms of changing my mind.
No, yeah,
I still don't think they're that great of a team. I still think it's hard to trust Geno Smith. He started out that game really well last week, and then for about a quarter and a half, it was like 10-7 still. And the Patriots, there's part of me that thought the Patriots could still win that game last week. So I'm gonna take Chargers covering as well. I'm gonna take the quarterback, and I think Jim Harbaugh is a better coach than Pete Carroll. And I think just overall, Chargers are a better team. And Chargers, to your point, if they win this game, they're 2-0 in the division. They then have another divisional game next week at home against the Broncos. So,
I didn't know that.
If they could start out 3-0 and start out 3-0 in the division, as we stated earlier, they could. I think that puts them in a really good spot to potentially win this division.
I do think this would be a close game. I'd feel a lot better if it was 2.5 to 3.5. So if I like to bet this game and not do money line, I'd do alt 2.5. Just give myself the extra point.
Well, I bet Chargers. And I'm
not
like Brock Bowers. I don't think he's going to be playing this game. That's a major loss. Ashton Genty, by the way, what was his stats last week? Was it like?
No, it wasn't great stats.
I think it was like
Patriots have a good front though. Patriots have a good
They do,
front.
but I think Chargers very well. I don't think they have the personnel for other teams, but they're just very well coached in general. Jesse Mitchell is a great defense coordinator. I'm going to take the Chargers to win and to cover. But yeah, I like you said, I think it is a relatively close game. I'm going to give the edge to Justin Herbert over Geno Smith. Mm-hmm. Anything else or any other, do you have any favorite bets this week? Or anything
I like Vikings money line. That's kind of my thing right now.
Packers are probably my favorite bet of the week.
Oh, and Browns a cover. I feel really good.
Okay.
But yeah, Packers were
my favorite, and we just talked about Chargers are they're my favorite bet of this week outside of Packers.
Yeah. I'd say Vikings money line, Browns spread.
Okay, I'll say Chargers money line. That was pretty common for me. Anything else before we wrap it up? And are you good?
Yep.
All right. Well, with that being said, that will do it for our episode today. As I said in the beginning, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and follow us anywhere you can get podcasts. We'll be back next week with Week 2 recap and look ahead into Week 3.
Peace.